Hello. I am going to talk about blame after betrayal today. So, this is a question that was submitted by a man from Men in the Battle, so a man with unwanted sexual behavior. And what he says is, it seems as if I am blamed for everything, even things that may not be my fault. What can I do during these times? First, I just want to validate how difficult it is to be under scrutiny for things that you're not guilty of. Let me tell you a story, a true story, of a dear friend of mine who was married for a really long time, like 20 plus years, and her husband had been acting out secretly for many of those years, unbeknownst to her. She never found any evidence. When she did finally find out about the sexual betrayal, she tells what's now a very funny story. But at the time, it shows how traumatized her brain was. She she was out digging in her garden and came across what appeared to be a vertebrae, and all of a sudden made a link between that and the fact that her husband likes to use the disposable rubber gloves that they use in the doctor's office. They always gave her the creeps. Why do you use these disposable gloves? She finds this vertebrae. Her brain, which is super traumatized by all the sexual secrets that have been going on for so many years, and the bewilderment of who is this man that I am married to and what is he capable of. Her brain made a leap and took that bone, and she stood there with her hand on her hip and said to him, "What is this?" And in that moment, what was going through her head was, "Oh my gosh, my husband's been murdering women and burying them in my backyard." And what's crazy, I know her husband. He is a good and decent man. He had a sexual addiction, and it had been secret for many years, and it traumatized her. But he had, in fact, not killed anybody. Um, and that was confirmed by a polygraph, just in case you're wondering. But when he heard her ask about this and realized that she thought he might be capable of murdering people, um, it made this husband realize how traumatized her brain was and how disoriented she was, and how he knew where his lines were and what kind of immoral or scandalous behavior he would not do. But she did not. She did not know what he was capable of. So, for this question, where you're getting blamed for everything, even things that are not your fault, it may help to have the lens of understanding how traumatized your partner might be by the deception. And if she doesn't trust you, which it takes a long time to rebuild trust after there have been sexual secrets, even if you've been trustworthy in other areas, she may be calling into question all of these other areas of your trustworthiness. It can really take a lot of time to rebuild that trust. So, as this man is asking, what can I do during these times that I'm getting blamed for things I didn't do? I would encourage you to try to look at your partner through a lens of compassion and empathy, and do your best to not get defensive. Try to understand and learn about how this trauma has impacted her and why she would blame you for things or question you about things that you have not done because of all the things that have happened that she didn't know were happening. Um, it can also really help if you are able to provide evidence that whatever you're being blamed for, you in fact did not do. And if you can do that in a non defensive way, that can really help. Now, I'm not going to share these things with you so you can try to manufacture these attitudes. But what I tell women whose husbands are in recovery for unwanted sexual behavior is that they need to look for things like brokenness, openness, and willingness. So the acronym BOW. So those three things: brokenness, openness, willingness. I also like to add on humility. So the humility to not be defensive or arrogant, the brokenness to show, oh my gosh, I see how this has impacted you and I'm sorry over it. I'm not just sorry I got caught. in my secrets or in my lies or in my sexual behavior, but I am sorry for how it has impacted you. If you can remember, those are the attitudes of recovery. When you're in defensiveness and arrogance, when you're in pride, when you're in always being about yourself and protecting yourself and your reputation, these are not attitudes that show signs of recovery. They are actually kind of danger attitudes that show a sign of either headed towards a relapse. I mean, it's so interesting because some people just want to be done with their unwanted sexual behavior. And what we don't realize is that God really does want to transform us from the inside out. He doesn't want to just get us to stop doing something. He wants to transform us into his image. And if out of my heart are flowing things like pride and arrogance, defensiveness, those are just the tip of the iceberg to display what is going on below the surface of the water in my heart. So the fruit of true recovery, the fruit of true change is that brokenness, openness, and willingness. It's the fruit of the Spirit. It's love and it's patience, it's joy, it's peace. Now, I'm not saying it's easy because after sexual betrayal, after unwanted sexual behavior gets exposed, it's a mess. It's like a bomb has gone off. And the carnage is real and it is horrific, and the cleanup takes a really long time. The more you can look at your wife and say, I am so sorry for what I did. No, I did not, whatever. And in the case of my friend and the story I told at the beginning of my Facebook Live here, no, I did not kill somebody. Or even if it's a lesser offense, no, I did not. I did not go to the store to peruse the magazine aisle to act out. I know I can understand why you would feel like it's hard to trust me right now. You're showing empathy and compassion for her trauma, and that actually ends up de-escalating her trauma and de-escalating the blame over time. Now, if using strategies like this are not helpful and she's not responsive to that, you probably want to invite a third party to help you guys communicate with each other. The thing that I want to caution you on is that there are many counselors who are very well meaning, but don't understand the impact of sexual betrayal and the trauma that it causes the brain. And if your wife is not getting help for her trauma, it may be very difficult for her to see that it's trauma that is causing her her struggle with wanting to blame you for things that you did not do. If you go to a therapist or a marriage counselor who doesn't understand that your wife has been traumatized, they're probably going to look at this as a 50-50 issue. Oh, you're just not communicating well. And they're going to give Band-Aid surface treatments to your wife's, the complexity of why she's reacting the way she is. So it's really important to see a therapist that is trauma informed, and the best possible scenario would be to find somebody who's APSATS trained. APSATS is the Association of Partner of Sex Addicts Trauma Specialists. This is the gold standard of therapists that can help a couple or a betrayed partner to work through this recovery process and maintain a trauma-informed perspective. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you again next